Hey guys, this is Ron. This is a real quick video response to a question that I got recently. So someone watched one of my, the DSL video that I created, where I basically showed you how to use the packet tracer DSL modem and then simulate an ISP and hook it into your network. So he tried to go home and implement that in his real network, but he ran into a couple of snags. Namely, he only had a single interface on his home router. So he found it difficult. How do I hook in the DSL modem to my router and have my router hooked up to my switch, which provides services to all of my users? So what we did was we used a sub interface on our router and hooked it into our switch. So we're going to do that in this video, and I'll kind of show you how to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect in our DSL modem to our switch. So I'm going to come over here, grab the crossover cable, because the DSL modem typically expects to be hooked to a host or to be hooked to a router port. So when you hook it into the switch, you're going to need that crossover cable. Okay, I've already specified VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30. Basically, VLAN 30 is going to provide DHCP services for our VLAN 10 and 20. And then we're going to add VLAN 40 in on our switch for this DSL modem. So the switch is already configured, and I'll show you that there's nothing tricky on here at all. We've got VLAN 10 and VLAN 10 on our ports 1 and 2, VLAN 20 on ports 3 and 4. We've got VLAN 30, which is our server on VLAN or on port 5, so nothing tricky there. On 24, we have our trunk, so this is going to run up to our home router. And then typically you would have to specify your encapsulation and stuff like that. If you were going to restrict which VLANs you wanted to go across it, you'd have to specify that. Here in Packet Tracer, I'm not too worried about it. Here on port 23, this is where we're going to connect in our DSL modem. And so all we did here was added it switch port access VLAN 40. So nothing tricky there at all. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the config. That's the only things I've added to this switch. And that's the only thing we're going to need for this small little lab. The real work is going to be done here on our router. So we'll go into config T, our global configuration. We're going to go ahead and start building our sub interfaces. So the first thing we need to do is FA00, because this is where our connection is. We're going to do a no IP address, no shut. So this brings the interface up without an IP. We're going to build our first sub interface. And you could specify any sub interface number you want there. I'm just going to keep it simple and we'll go in order. Okay, so this is going to be our VLAN 10. So we'll do encapsulation.1q and we're going to tag it as VLAN 10. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to specify an IP address. And we're going to do 192.168.10.1 if I could type today or on any day. Alright, so we've specified an IP address. Now we're going to point it to towards our server just so it can pull an IP. So this is 30.254. Alright, because we're not running DHCP on the router, so we're going to run DHCP on that other server. So we've pointed it towards the server. Last thing we're going to do IPNAT inside. Okay, so this says anything hanging off of this interface is an inside address. Alright, so this is our users. And then we can add a description if need be. It's usually a good call for quickly look through the config and figuring out what's going on. Okay, so for sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and copy in VLANs 20 and 30. Alright, so nothing spectacular here. In this case, we created sub interface 2 and 3, specified the .1q with the VLAN tagging, specified the IP address. VLAN 20 uses the IP helper address, IPNAT inside. We don't need an IP helper address for VLAN 30 because it is the server, and then IP NAT inside as well. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and configure our sub interface for the DSL modem. We'll just make it sub interface 4 encapsulation .1Q 40. So we're using VLAN 40. So far nothing looks special. IP address DHCP. All right, too easy. So this is going to pull an IP from our ISP. All right, and now we're going to do IP NAT outside, because this is our connection to the outside world. This is where we're going to want translation between our inside addresses and our outside addresses to happen. A little description: connection to VLAN 40 DSL modem. All right, nothing spectacular there either. The only difference in this one is we specified DHCP as the address and IP NAT outside. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and build our access lists, because we have to specify that, hey, traffic on VLAN 10 and VLAN 20, we want to, if it matches that, we're going to apply NAT to it. Okay. So for sake of time, I'm just going to copy and paste. All right. Access list 1, permit. So there's our two networks that I want to match on. Those are the wildcard masks for the Class C. All right. So VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 should be grabbed up by that access list. So now we're going to go ahead and specify our actual NAT line. So IP NAT inside source list 1. Okay, so we're matching on access list 1. We're going to do an interface FA00 decimal 4. All right, because we're going to use that sub interface 4, which is the DSL modem, as our address on, or basically that we're going to use as that outside. Okay, overload. Okay, so any addresses on the inside that match with this list 1, when going out FA00.4, we're going to go ahead and apply NAT to it and overload on it. Okay? And show IP interface brief. Let's see if we pulled an IP, and we did. So fast Ethernet 00.4 pulled an IP address of 1113. It's set up for DHCP, and everyone is up. So this looks good so far. Show IP NAT translation. So we don't have anything yet. Well, that's because we haven't tried to access the internet. So let's go ahead and do an IP config. Okay, so this guy pulled an IP address. That's good. So he must have talked to VLAN 30 already. And we'll go ahead and try to ping google.com. All right, let's go back to our router and see if we're getting some kind of translation. Hit the up arrow, and we are translating, so that's good. So our inside address of 10.3, which was that computer, is trying to access the outside world. Okay? So we're translating his IP to 1113, because that's the IP address that we found on our sub interface 4. Okay? So if we go back to him, we should see that he did in fact ping Google. Right on. So that's pretty much it. In order to hook our DSL modem into our network without using another interface on our router, we just brought him in as another VLAN on our switch, created another sub interface for that VLAN, and applied NAT outside on that interface. Okay? So I hope you got something out of the video. I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching.